Kate Parker. I am a photographer and an author. I am so honored to be in this room today. Thank you so much for having me. So yeah, I'm a photographer first. The author part is much more difficult for me. I love the photographer part. I work as a commercial photographer about half the time, and then the other half of the time, I'm working on personal work, which is usually in the form of books. So my personal work focuses on work that is obviously very personal to me, but projects that really inspire me. I'm the author of 3 books. Those are the 3. I'm working on my 4th and 5th sort of consecutively right now. I'm also a mom. I have 2 girls, Ella and Alice, who are 11 and 14. And so the theme of this morning is flow. And they were saying, "Lil, how do you use flow when you work?" And it honestly, it kind of cracked me up because my style of working never, ever feels flowy. I feel like I'm continually banging my head against the wall, and then realize after a while, and a headache, and a temper tantrum, some tears, that oh, the wall has fallen, and now I can see what's behind it. So if that's flow, that's sort of my flow. It's not ideal, it's not painless, but it's kind of how I work. And I honestly had never thought about that before, but I started to see sort of a pattern in my life and my work that my flow is not so flowy, but that's okay. So my entire career started with me taking pictures of my kids. I did not have a grand plan to become a commercial photographer or write books. I just wanted to capture my kids' lives. I wanted to show who and what they were, what they loved. I wanted to capture their true selves. A lot of photography that I saw, especially in the South, we're in Georgia, a lot of photography of little girls was little girls with bows in their hair smiling at the camera. My kids didn't look like that. My kids didn't act like that. So I didn't want to shoot them like that. But when they were born, I had no idea how to shoot a camera or how to edit or how to light or run a business. I basically was unqualified for the life that I live right now. Yes, I don't know what I was thinking. But I saw in my head what I wanted to shoot, and it took time and lots of YouTube tutorials and thousands of over and underexposed images and out of focus images. But my flow here was sort of getting my images to match what I saw in my head. My skill level was here, but my taste level was here. My background is, I worked at CNN as a video editor, and I worked as a producer at an agency producing commercials. So I had been around people with good taste for a while, but I was just trying to get these 2 things to match. And I'm still working on that. And still today, like lots of parents, I shoot my girls all the time. I just have a bigger camera, lots of lenses, and they're so embarrassed of me all the time. So I found that the images I really love and responded to were the ones where my girls were being themselves. And for my girls, that meant often dirty and silly. Yeah. I've gotten emails about this picture, concerned about her ear health. And she's fine. She's doing okay. Fearless and not necessarily smiling for the camera. This is Alice. This is my youngest. She was angry about something here. I've asked her what it was. She and I both don't remember. She has a little bit of a temper. She takes after me that way. What I was trying to capture was what was actually going on in their lives, who they were. I wanted to show their personalities. I wanted to show their goofiness, their joy, their fierceness. I call this Daughters of Anarchy. So there's we live in the back, my house is right here, I'm where my house is, and there's 4 little girls that have these scooters in our neighborhood, and there's a lot of very older people in our neighborhood that hate them, hate me, hate the scooters, which I totally understand. I wanted to capture their attitude. Broken legs, you can see a little broken leg in there, and the sound that sound it makes when you yell into a fan. It's kind of like a rite of childhood, which this is also. Yeah. Thank you, Taco Mac. Because we never win these, which is how I knew to bring my camera, because I knew she'd lose. And Like, this is literally the second that it drops. So these girls were so full of life and energy and confidence, I wanted to just capture it. I didn't want them to change. I didn't want them to brush their hair, smile for me, or put on like a clean outfit. I wanted to show the strength and the power of these girls that I saw every day. Because when my girls and I would be on the internet or read magazines or watch TV, I mean, definitely not on the internet, we didn't see that. We didn't see this kind of representation of girls enough. I didn't see the proud confidence that comes with an undefeated soccer season. My girls and I did not see a lot of ourselves in the perfect girls and women we saw reflected back to us. Everyone looked happy all the time. Their hair was always done. They were always smiling. They didn't seem to have any life. And I didn't want my girls to think that that was what beautiful was, or that's what they needed to aspire to. And it wasn't reality. At least it wasn't our reality. We would see stuff like this. If you compare these Girls' Life, I know it's ridiculous. Girls' Life magazine versus Boys' Life magazine. Girls' Life magazine is asking girls to, like, the main thing is for them to find their dream hairstyle. And they're asking boys, you know, explore your future. And we'd see it if we went shopping in the stores. These are onesies for little girls. This is I hate my thighs versus I mean, it made me very mad. And then if you see, like, we went shopping for toys. I'm sure no one can guess where this is from, right? Yeah. Toys, they don't need to have a gender. And then this is where my temper came in. I got very angry, and I got angry enough to want to do something about it because I didn't want my girls to think that their worth was determined by their hair, what it looked like, the size of their thighs, or what shade of pink that their toys came in. So to combat this, this is an interesting shoot. I actually shot this. I don't think I was thinking that well because I was asked to help sort of reframe princesses for Disney and invited, I think, 20 of my daughter's friends to come to the house to have a mud fight, but had no plan as to how to clean them up to get home. So we literally hosed them down in the yard. But yes, I feel like it was worth it. I like the picture. But to combat this for my own self and my girls, I intentionally started shooting more and more authentic, real images of my girls and their friends. And in 2014, I was asked to be part of a gallery show here in Atlanta. And I was so excited. I was like, I've made it. This is it. Like, I'm awesome. I thought I was awesome. And then these are the images that are part of the gallery. I did not shoot this at the gallery because this is in my living room because nothing sold at the gallery. Not a single damn image sold at the gallery. And I was like, of course, I was like, I'm a failure. There's nothing here. I'm a terrible photographer. It's time to quit. And I felt like that for a couple days. And then I guess sort of hit the wall. I got mad again, which seems to be sort of a theme. And then I decided to take action because I was like, you know what? I feel like there's something more here. So I sent these images and just like a paragraph about what they were about to just a couple blogs that I followed. And then the images went viral, and they were seen and shared millions of times. And CNN, The Today Show, and a ton of other places shared the images and the message. I was so glad because I was not the only one that thought girls needed to hear this message. And if I had taken the fact that nothing had sold at the gallery as a no, nothing would have happened. I would not be here talking to you all today. I believed in this message and kept pushing it forward since I had a gut feeling that something greater was there. And it's such an important message for us as creative people that if your gut is telling you something, you need to listen to it. You can ignore the no's because you're going to get no's. But if you are passionate about something, keep pushing it. And this, I kind of thought about this, and I was like, well, this is also flow. Going with your gut, if you believe in something, I guarantee you somebody else will too. And I had the opportunity to expand the images into a book form, and I jumped at the chance. I love the idea of this larger message of acceptance and celebration of self. And I also looked at it as a way to show all kinds of girls and all kinds of strength. Because up until that point, it was really just my girls and their friends. It's whatever, the opposite of diverse. It's just little girls that live north of Atlanta. So I really wanted, I really wanted any girl picking up the book to find somebody they could relate to and find somebody that inspired them. And so that's who I set out to find. I found girls who inspire, girls who persevere, and I spent 2 years traveling and meeting and shooting extraordinary girls from all over the country. And all of these girls had amazing stories, and I wanted girls to know what I was taught as a kid by my parents and what I was trying to teach my girls. That your value doesn't reside in how you look or how you dress. Your value is in who you are, what you do, and how you treat others. And so Strong is the New Pretty was born. And yes, this concept is not new at all. Strong has always been beautiful. But I think that as a mom with 2 young girls growing up where 99% of the images they see, especially of girls, are filtered, Snapchatted, like face-tuned, photoshopped, this message needs to be heard now more than ever, for us and also for them. The pressure that young women feel these days is new because what they see isn't real. And I wanted to provide a place, a message, and images that celebrated girls for who they really are, what they really look like, what they're really doing. And I wanted girls to know that that was enough, the end. So in shooting this project, I was made really aware of the fact that you can't dream something if you never see it. I wanted to be able to show girls what was possible through these images. This is Maddie, and she said, "I never met a female firefighter before. Now I know it's possible to be one." I wanted girls to know that they could start their own band, that you can be a wrestler and be one of the best around. This is Catherine Grace. She actually lives here in Atlanta. And she just placed recently 4th in the entire state of Georgia for her weight class against the boys. So she wrestled against the boys. And it's funny, I gave a talk not that long ago, and a mom in the audience raised her hand and was like, "Oh yeah, she just beat my son." And I was like, well, she beat everyone in Georgia except for 3 other people. And I asked CG, I was like, why wrestling? And I was like, just curious, like, how did you end up here? And she just said, her older brothers wrestled. She asked her dad if she could wrestle, and he said, sure. And all it took for her to find her passion and her talent was that sure. Nobody said no. Nobody said girls don't wrestle. Nobody said, why don't you try something else? It might be easier. Sometimes it's not about fighting for our kids or ourselves, which we can all do and are willing to do. Sometimes it's about simply saying, sure, let's try that. Allowing our passions to lead rather than like stereotypes or outdated gender roles. I wanted girls to know that you can think you're awesome, you can say you're awesome in a book, and there's nothing wrong with that. That you do not have to be clean or perfect to be beautiful, and that you can pursue your dreams no matter what challenges life puts in your way. The idea that girls are not good at math or science is a giant lie. And that girls are catty and do not support one another is simply not true. And that the sky can literally be the limit. I feel like I have to explain this one a little bit. I hate to fly, and I also do not really I don't like photoshopping the images of the girls really in any way. But this is a 16-year-old pilot that offered to take me up in her plane, and I was like, no. So we were on the ground, and I photoshopped this guy in there. Yeah. Because I was like, there's no way in hell that I'm closing this door, and I'm like, I'm not going to get in a car with you. We're not going up in the air. And that one step at a time is the best way to conquer a mountain, literally and figuratively. That girls are loud and in your face, and that's okay. It's not just okay, that's encouraged. And that when you find your place, you need to own it, believe you belong, and stake your ground. And that sometimes the message we've all been looking for is at the bottom of a 15-year-old's longboard. So this is me. This is my least favorite picture of myself ever. I've been an athlete my whole life. This was obviously the schedule card I played soccer at Wake Forest. Schedule card for our season, which meant it was everywhere on campus. It's still on my mom's fridge. Like still, I'm not kidding, today. And I hated this picture. Everywhere I was on campus, I would try to get it and throw it away. I was One of my best friends said I look like a monster walking, and she'll still have me. She's like, do the monster walk, do the monster walk. So there's two things I hated about this picture. I hated my face, and I hated my legs. My face shows this I look crazy, but it's the crazy intensity. And then I didn't like that I wanted legs like the dancers that were up here before, and I didn't have them. I had soccer legs. I had muscular, now I look at them and I'm like, what were you worried about? But I realize now, because I'm not 19 anymore, at 43, that the things that make us powerful also make us uncomfortable. And now I see the power. I see the power of that intensity that would have plowed through that girl on the soccer field. But I realized that intensity is what sort of propelled me to get this project moving, to learn photography, to start a business, to believe in a project that I truly believed in despite a lot of no's. And that in 95, I blamed my legs for clothes that didn't fit right, that jeans would gap at the waist. But I realized that if my legs were not the way that they are, if they weren't so big, they wouldn't be as strong as I needed them to be. And I demanded a lot of them got a college scholarship, did marathons, done an Ironman. If they looked the way I wanted them to be, they wouldn't have done the things I demanded. So now whenever that voice kind of creeps into my head that I don't look right or I'm being too intense, I remind myself how good those things have been to me instead. And I think I love this quote. Whatever makes you weird is probably your greatest asset. So it's so, so true. And it's so hard for us to remember sometimes, especially as a young girl. But even as adults, we forget. So I really would like to remind you today of your weirdness, to figure out sort of what that quirkiness, try not to shove it down, take it out and let it play. Because Strong is the New Pretty as a photography project, book, and movement is all about giving power to what's important to young girls, encouraging girls to find what is unique about themselves and pursue it, even when others question it. And as parents, it's about loving our children for who they are, not who we kind of wish they were. There are so many voices telling us to not be who we are. It's hard to remember or sometimes figure out who that is. We don't have to listen. You can own your strength, you can celebrate it, and there's magic in this. And that's what this project in this book is all about. And then coming back to flow just a little bit. So when I'm shooting and creating and trying to get those images in my head to match what I see in my camera is when it's not a banging my head against the wall flow. It actually feels good, because I get really excited if a picture looks exactly how I want it. I get mad when it doesn't. I really love that creation. Taking an idea, making it better, sort of maximizing on things. Making it work, making people feel things when they see my work or read my books. And that's when the flow, it kind of doesn't feel so hard. I'm not the most talented or most skilled photographer at all. But what I did was take a very strong, unapologetic viewpoint in my work and hustled hard. And we all have control over those two things. We can all do that. And I was so glad, ultimately, I was not the only one that thought girls needed to hear this message. So thank you.